reading, writing, and putting yourself between a gunman and your student. What teachers train on what was once unthinkable. It's a catch-22 in Boulder. A ban on urban camping even when there's no room at the shelter. Something's got to give, and a judge will decide. It's the equivalent of high school playoffs, but for musical theater.
I had to explain what it was to my parents, and then they're like, that's awesome. Like, I had no idea what that was, but that's so cool.
The Bobby G Awards get announced tonight. If only they were around when this guy was performing on stage in high school. And Wheel of Fortune's Sally Ride. Try to get the song out of your head as we check out a sculpture built in Colorado, but made to honor her accomplishments that were out of this world. No, it's not going to space. Find out where it's headed next. We expect a lot from our teachers. The teaching itself, paying for their own supplies, and more recently, being a classroom's Department of Defense. There is an extraordinary conversation that happens when teachers take active shooter training. In Jefferson County, they're asked to think about how they would prepare to defend themselves in their classrooms. Anusha Roy learned about this from the district security director, who has trained hundreds of schools and thousands of teachers about this difficult ask.
Testament to John McDonald's nonstop work. He chatted from his car after helping during a crisis in a neighboring school district.
We just went out to support the parent-student reunification.
McDonald's trained thousands of teachers and students about active shooter protocols, and he was very clear.
If you can get behind a locked door in a school and then have a secondary locked classroom door, these are time barriers that work.
But if that's not the case, McDonald asked teachers he trains across the country to think about how they would defend themselves and the kids inside.
There's no other recourse in moment in time, and that's all you got. Then what are your options?
While it's rare, it has happened.
Dr. David Banky, our math teacher at Deer Creek Middle School, knew immediately what he was going to do, and he did. He tackled the gunman, subdued him, and controlled him. But he's someone that had thought about this a lot and put a lot of time and consideration behind that thought process. And he reacted as he had built muscle memory. Most people, that's really difficult.
It is such an extraordinary thing to ask teachers to talk about.
Sure it is. It's you're absolutely right, because on any given day, what a teacher's job is to educate our little ones, right? Educate our kids who just want to be there to learn and thrive and grow and be happy in their environment. And now you're asking teachers to think about the worst case scenario.
It is tough. It is heartbreaking. It is a last resort. But McDonald says it's also an important part of being prepared.
We live in a time and an era of violence.
He said some teachers end up thinking about this more than others, and he's worked with them on strategies and is hoping to hand back some power to the classroom. So as important as it is, McDonald says it's actually tricky to keep all of those doors locked, especially at the end of the year with ceremonies and celebrations. There's also schools without AC who need to keep these doors and windows open to cool down. All of this involves working with children as well. So, of course, that's evolving depending on how old the kids are. It's a very gentle conversation with our youngest kiddos. They're practicing things and games like who can color in the dark the best or who can make a lollipop last the longest without making any kind of noise. And one of the most important partnerships that's coming out of this conversation is McDonald said they're pairing up with a group to develop protocols and safety protocols for kids with autism who are visually impaired, who are hearing impaired. He said there really wasn't a good safety plan for them, so that is going to be a big game changer.
Teachers are responsible for lessons, and I take it now that these are part of the life lessons you learn that could be used later in life.
100%. So McDonald said this is not just about school. It's at the movie theater, at the grocery store, at the church. He said he actually started getting calls from families and folks from D.C. after January 6th saying those young interns who grew up in Jeffco were trained within the school district. They knew what to do in that moment.
Amazing that you have to take that and use it elsewhere in life.
It's unbelievable. I had so many moments where I said, what are our children going to be learning, and this is going to be a part of it.
Important training nonetheless.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Anusha. Following the shooting deaths of 19 elementary school kids in Texas, perhaps it's the wrong week, if ever, to bring a paintball gun to a Denver school. Someone with a paintball gun was the cause of a lockdown at Northfield High School. Denver police are thinking a student who saw the weapon and told campus security. The school was put on lockdown while the school's safety resource officers and Denver police investigated. DPD says a suspect was arrested off campus right before noon, and they found the paintball gun. They also arrested a second suspect, but would not say what for, only that charges will be presented to the Denver DA's office. We've talked a bit about Colorado's gun laws in response to the Texas elementary school shooting. Colorado lawmakers passed a handful of gun-related laws last year following the Boulder King Super shooting. Here's a list that we referenced yesterday. On the bottom of that list is something called the Office for Gun Violence Prevention. It's run through the state health department. It's supposed to apply for and issue grants for community-based gun violence intervention initiatives. So far, it has not, because there are just 2 employees. This is one of them. Newly selected Director Jonathan McMillan. He last worked at Denver's Office of Gun Violence Prevention. I'm told he was hired less than a month ago, so the application for grants has not started yet, and doing what that office does is still in the first stages. Guns and gun control, the topic of the first question in the debate between Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert and her primary challenger, Republican State Senator Don Coram. The debate in far southwest Colorado at the Ignacio Sky Ute Casino. Coram live streamed it on Facebook. Quick warning, it's hard to hear audio. After their opening remarks, they were both asked what role Congress has in reducing gun violence in this country.
We cannot legislate away evil. This is something that I've been advocating for years, that we need to be able to arm and protect ourselves. That moms need to be able to have a tool, an equalizer to protect their children. That our teachers need to be well equipped and trained and certified to also protect our children.
Boebert has created an identity around guns, making them a focal point of her political ads and public appearances. Analysis by the Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence published last year found nearly 100 publicly reported incidents of adults mishandling guns at schools over a 5-year period. Both Boebert and Coram brought up mental health, but other than those words, no actionable idea. Coram also brought up a bill he's pitched at the state capitol a couple of times, including this year.
I was running a piece of legislation several years ago when the shooting was going on in Parkland, Florida, for making our schools safer, to harden the target. Our school buses and our schools are targets. There is technology available that's out there to prevent people from coming into these buildings.
Coram sponsored a bill this session and in 2020 to make school buses smarter. It had nothing to do with the school buildings. The proposed grant program would have given parents the ability to track a school bus and have the school bus connect with first responders in a faster way. If we get the chance, this is definitely a topic I'd like to follow up with the 2 candidates. The primary is June 28th, and Congressional District 3 covers southern Colorado and the western slope. We let high school athletes play on the biggest stage. The football teams played their state championship game at Mile High Stadium. And just this week, the soccer teams played their title games where the Colorado Rapids play in Commerce City. So why not do the same for other high school activities? High school theater students are walking the red carpet right this moment at the Ellie Calkins Opera House in Denver, where they will learn later tonight who wins the Bobby G Awards. What are the Bobby Gs? Celebrating high school theater students similar to athletes.
Every hope's the key to your heart.
The cast of Anastasia at Lakewood High School is taking extra steps to rehearse for an awards ceremony tonight, where these students are up for Best Musical.
I had to explain what it was to my parents, and then they're like, that's awesome. Like, I had no idea what that was, but that's so cool.
Recently graduated senior Noah Schuster is one of 5 high school theater students nominated for Best Actor.
I feel very grateful, but excited.
I mean, like, it's really cool.
Graduated senior Morgan Fritzler is also nominated for Lead Actress, based on her performance during the March run of Anastasia. But the winner of the Bobby G Award is based on a combination of how you did on stage and what you did last week.
You performed 32 bars of a song from Anastasia, or like whatever show you were nominated for. And then we had to prepare another musical theater piece, and then we performed that in front of like a room of judges.
And I'm just really grateful that all the hard work is recognized by people outside of our organization.
Lakewood High School's theater director Tammy Losasso has earned 2 Bobby G Awards, which started in 2013. You have to be one of the first 50 schools to apply and pay the $200 fee, then perform and fill out some paperwork.
They ask you questions like your demographics, what financial assistance you have from the school board, from the school, how much is based on ticket sales, what are some of your production obstacles.
To look at a school that has a $50,000 budget to a school that has $6,000, that should not determine whether or not they receive a nomination.
Claudia Carson is the awards program manager. She's throwing a party tonight that could rival prom.
And they feel like they are in either LA or New York at an opening night of either a Broadway show or a movie.
Lakewood's performance of Anastasia is nominated along with Chaparral's 9 to 5, Littleton High's Into the Woods, Overland's Sister Act, and Palmer Ridge High's Once Upon a Mattress.
And soon all Perry will. Each show that was nominated for Best Overall Show does one number at the Ellie Calkins Theater during the ceremony.
I think the most nervous I was for the re-audition. And now I'm kind of just excited, like I get to perform at the Ellie Calkins.
It's something you almost have to feel, but it is magical for them.
That is what the Bobby G's are. Who is Bobby G? Robert Gardner, the person who brought Broadway shows to Denver in the first place. Other categories tonight include costume, hair, makeup, lighting, choreography. The winners of Best Actor and Actress go on to compete in the National Jimmy Awards in New York next month. Another city camping ban is taken to court. Why a judge is being asked to look at blankets in Boulder. Why the steroid era in baseball might be the perfect analogy for climate change-caused weather patterns. And history. And this piece of art remembers the astronaut who opened the airlock for other women.
Now, she didn't just break the glass ceiling, she crushed it.
Let's go for a ride next. A new lawsuit over a city's camping ban claims the math does not add up. The ACLU of Colorado has sued the city of Boulder, saying the city has cut the number of shelter beds while spending millions on preventing people from sleeping outside. One ordinance in Boulder prevents people from storing property outside or under a tent. Another forbids sleeping outside with a covering, like a blanket. The lawsuit alleges the blanket ban has been enforced even when the Boulder shelter for the homeless is full and turns people away. The ACLU wants a judge to declare the ordinances unconstitutional, thus allowing urban camping. The city of Boulder just received the lawsuit, and a city spokesman said the city will let the court process play out before commenting. A significant May snowstorm, 5 months after the state's latest first snow on record. What is and is not because of climate change? Assistant State Climatologist Becky Bollinger told us our recent snow and rain helped reduce drought conditions in parts of the Front Range and Eastern Plains. But even though areas close to the Continental Divide got winter weather in May, it is not enough to have an impact on the drought there.
Now, like you said, parsing out which one is due to climate change and which one isn't is not necessarily something that is easy to do. It's kind of like that reference to a baseball player who hits a lot of home runs and then, might take steroids and hit even more home runs. You can't know which ones he would have hit or not. And so that's what I like to say, climate change is kind of like the atmosphere being on steroids.
A certain Marshall from the late 90s might beg to differ on knowing which players hit home runs using performance-enhancing drugs, but I digress. Bollinger said late spring mountain snow delays the peak of fire season because it adds to and delays snowmelt.
Beautiful bright blue skies for us this Thursday afternoon and evening. So far so good. Overnight into tomorrow. Tomorrow morning we will wake up to a few clouds, and then in the afternoon a couple of isolated storms. Don't worry, nothing severe, just some gusty winds out there. A couple of raindrops, and then these storms scoot off to the east. Tomorrow will be a bit warmer than today. Today low 80s, tomorrow upper 80s. Some spots possibly touching 90 degrees, especially off to the eastern plains, with some 60s and 70s for your Friday up in the mountains. This ridge of high pressure, it starts scooting off to the east, making way for another storm just in time for Memorial Day weekend. Looks like it'll still stay dry on Saturday, but storms likely Sunday and Monday.
Her impact will last forever.
It inspires. You know, there's no doubt that some little girl's going to see this and she's going to become an astronaut.
Her statue, maybe not forever, but at least a few hundred years, honoring the astronaut who opened up space travel for all women. Next. Depending on your age, when I say Sally Ride, you know exactly what's coming next, or you're humming We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Joel. Today is Sally Ride Day, the first American woman in space in 1983. She focused on helping women and girls study science and math so they could follow her path. Her flight was actually in June, but today would have been her 71st birthday. And some of Colorado's sculptors are putting the finishing touches on a monument honoring her and all of the female scientists she helped influence.
It's like she's moving.
She was obviously very smart.
I mean, this tells a story, the way she's reaching to the sky.
Very adventurous, very brave.
If you didn't know anything about this woman, you'd say, okay, well, she's probably an astronaut, and she probably rode in that machine.
And I admire all of those qualities.
Sally Ride was the first American woman in space. She was picked out of 8,000 extremely qualified women to be the first American woman in space. I mean, she didn't just break the glass ceiling, she crushed it.
My name is Mark Lundeen. I'm a sculptor. I'm here on behalf of Sally Ride today.
The reason I wanted to commission Sally Ride, it just occurred to me one day. I was at the Kennedy Space Center. There was no women, nothing. There wasn't a plaque. There wasn't a monument. It literally hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, wow, there's like, why aren't there any women monuments? So to see this in all of its glory, better than the first one.
And unfortunately, we had a fire.
There was a fire and she burned down.
And Sally was completely destroyed.
But the Lundeens are the greatest sculptors in America, and they decided to throw some extra artists on it, and they rebuilt her as fast as they could, and they rebuilt her better.
I think we got a little more of her character in the second one.
So they just finished it last night about midnight. And at the end of the day, monuments inspire people to look to the stars, to maybe look beyond themselves. There's no doubt that some little girl is going to see this and she's going to become an astronaut.
That's through the lens of our Corky Scholl. The statue is being shipped out this weekend to the Cradle of Aviation Museum in Long Island. It will be unveiled June 17th, which is the day before the anniversary of her flight. Kids need books, but kids also need toys. Providing some much-needed playtime and a little free library? That's something that's not horrible. It's next, along with some feedback on how to secure schools. Those neighborhood free little libraries are cute and convenient, but why stop at books? Now that's something that's not horrible. A neighborhood in Louisville is feeling the need for speed. A little bit of speed. Lauren came across this free little library that offers Hot Wheels instead of books. She says it's near Cleo Murdoch Park. Should know how long it's been there. So if you're hip to the backstory on the free Hot Wheel library or want to debate Hot Wheels versus Matchbox, I'd love to hear from you. Email next@9news.com or tweet us using the hashtag HeyNext. Getting feedback about school safety from Ann tonight. She suggests installing metal detectors, arming teachers that choose to be armed, have inside and outside security, badged entry-only doors, and security cameras. That sounds like an idea. It also sounds like the blueprint for jail. Perhaps there's something in between, and we can continue that discussion next time.